got another rant for you. Um, so, in reference to the Facebook post that I actually just posted, I've been thinking this a little bit, and imagine what you could do if you decided to say fuck it to your bills and not pay them. I spend $1,800 a month on bills. You multiply that by 12 months, and you've got like a lot of money. Um, a lot. But if you really think about it, what's really going to happen if you don't pay your bills? I mean, there's the obvious things like not having a place to live. You can kind of work around it. There's something, you can figure it out. Beyond that, however, what is actually stopping you? If you still work, but you don't have a place to live, and say you just pay for like your groceries and your pet food or whatever, you're gonna have plenty of money. You save that money for a year, 2 years, whatever. You'll end up getting probably like 50 grand if you just say, fuck you, I'm not paying my bills. So I'm in the mindset now that why should I pay them? Because first of all, it's just a system to keep people controlled. Money is not real. Money does not actually mean a damn thing. It's just they've been able to trick you into thinking that money is what everything should revolve around. And you know what? Like, I'm coming to this realization, and I'm kind of seeing it's not true. Because they threaten you, oh, your credit score is going to get bad. They might repossess your car, which would be kind of bad to an extent, really. I mean, that's probably the worst that could happen, though. I don't think debtors' prisons exist anymore, so they're not going to come and arrest you, garnish your wages, unless it's a federal amount that you owe, like taxes or something, but most people don't owe any federal amount unless you make enough to actually cover it. But I'm kind of in the mindset now, I'm like, why should I keep paying my bills? Like, beyond paying for, like, where you live, none of your bill, and maybe your electric, none of your bills should really matter because you do not need a lot of things. You don't need half of the shit they try to sell to you and advertise to you and tell you that you should have. Whenever I see somebody driving a Mercedes or a BMW, it pisses me off. Like, but I also get kind of sad because those people have gotten to the point in their lives where they think that there's such a thing as a real status quo. Status quos are not real. They are to some extent, but nothing that you should worry yourself over. The problem with everything is that you have to pay all these bills, or you think you have to pay all these bills to live and exist. You feel like you need to buy a house. You need to try to live this American dream, which only shows in your present life. I am a firm believer in reincarnation and the afterlife and a lot of other kind of spiritual stuff that a lot of people might not really like care about or think, I'm weird about or whatever. It doesn't matter. You can't take that shit with you. So imagine this for just a minute so that I can get my point across. And most people in my position and in my generation who are poor as shit kind of get this. So if you're in the middle of a desert and you've run out of water, nothing, absolutely no water whatsoever, and somebody comes up to you and is like, I'll give you $1 million, or you can have 3 gallons of water. if you're dehydrated and you're in the middle of the desert, what do you really think you're going to pick? And if you think of it in that kind of way, it really proves that money is bullshit. Because at the end of the day, you're going to do what you need to survive. You're going to try to feed yourself. You're going to give yourself water. You're going to do those kinds of things because that's what's most important. Everything else in the United States that we live in is a luxury. Half the shit, maybe even 75% of the stuff that we have or that is advertised, we don't actually need. And we're kind of, like, I don't want to say brainwashed, but I mean brainwashed. We're kind of brainwashed into thinking that if you have all this stuff, then you're cool shit. And you're rich and you're wealthy and stuff. Okay, but somebody can be rich and not be rich. What I mean by that, you can have $1 million, or you can have a family, friends, a boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever, that means everything to you. I watched a documentary once, and it was called Happy. I don't know, it's not an unknown, obscure kind of documentary, but it explores people in other countries who don't have a lot of money, the impoverished countries that are nothing like the United States. And as a general consensus, people in these situations, they were in these really dilapidated, like, shacks, like, really not, like, as an American, you go there and be like, holy shit, like, I feel bad for these people because they have nothing, on the surface. But when the interviews were conducted with these people who were living these kinds of lives, it was found that they were happier than the average American. Did you know that there was a study done? I don't remember it. I don't remember who did it or what it was fun. It doesn't matter. But there's a study done on happiness level and money level. And it showed, as a general consensus, that after about 50 grand a year, happiness levels kind of like plateau and they just go from there. But there was an obvious difference in people who were less wealthy and didn't have enough money to exist or survive, essentially, which they obviously were a lot less happy. But that's just kind of one of those things that I really realized, like, once your basic needs are met, if you've heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you'll know what I'm talking about. Once your basic needs are met, everything else is kind of just like a plus. It's a bonus. It's like a... It's I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. But point is, as long as you are fed, you have water, you have a family and like an emotional support system, and enough of a shelter that you feel safe, that's all that matters. You get mail from debt collectors, you get phone calls, they harass you like nobody's business. They're like, oh, this is a confidential message for so-and-so. If you're not so-and-so, please hang up. And it's ridiculous. I've always hated the whole concept of money, but as it's been and as society has kind of raised me into being, you do need some bit of money so that you can survive to an extent. However, once you've hit an extent to where your like basic like creature comforts are met, nothing else additional on that matters. You can have somebody who's rich as fuck, who is the unhappiest soul, and I have to mention this because it's really it kind of hits me in a strange way. Excuse me. So I clean houses for a living. I work with animals on weekends, and there's nothing else I'd rather do than work with animals, but as society has pinned it, you have to make more than what you can, Anyway, so there's this lady that I clean a house for. And it's ironic because she has the best and the worst in her life that you could imagine. She has so much money, it's not even funny. Like, it was from a divorce and she got it from her husband, but still, the woman is loaded. And her husband left her. Her husband beat her. Her husband only pays for things because she is considered crazy. And she is just insane and nobody wants to deal with her. Point is, from my experience with certain types of mental illness, not personally, but like kind of like secondary experience. I'm not obsessive compulsive or anything of that nature, but I know plenty of people who are. My own people in my own family are obsessive compulsive. It's pretty bad. It's not pleasant. This woman writes her own Mother's Day cards because her kids don't talk to her. Last week when I was there cleaning her house, she had ordered flowers for herself under the name of Mr. Bear. And it wasn't anybody but her that did it. She has books on her shelf. The Road to Recovery. Women Who Love Too Much. Etc., etc. She has a lot of problems. There's a lot going on in her mind. And when I found out about some of these things, I got really upset and I got really sad for her. I really felt bad for her. And that's why I was like, it's just so ironic and so interesting that she has the best and worst in one life. Which doesn't typically happen. And my point, coming back to what I was talking about, is that she is financially very well off, financially very wealthy, very secure. But her mental illness speaks otherwise. My assumption, I don't know her very well, but my assumption is that because of her mental illness, which is common in mental illnesses, she pushed people away. She got to the point where she was just so difficult to deal with that her kids don't want to talk to her anymore. Nobody wants anything to do with her anymore. She got divorced because her husband didn't want to deal with her anymore. And it's sad. But it also proves my point that being rich doesn't mean anything. Financially being wealthy is ridiculous. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of people who are wealthy, who have happy lives, yada, 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 good for them. But this woman is just an exception to that thing. She's got the best and worst. And it's not fair. It's hard. Like, I feel so bad for her whenever I'm there. It's a very heavy feeling for me, and just because she's rich doesn't mean she's rich. What we need to do is redefine what we think of as rich. Wealth can mean a number of things to a number of people. Most people associate wealth, success, that kind of stuff with the financial aspect of things. And I mean, it's real to the extent that that's what we all do. We work, we pay our bills, but it's not real because it doesn't make you happy. You can have all the money in the world. You can have the biggest, nicest, most gorgeous house. You can cook the best meals. This, that, with the gourmet ingredients. This, that, and everything else. And at the end of the day, not have anybody to share those with. Are you really wealthy in that case? Like, does it really matter? If you can't share your wealth with any other souls, anybody else, what's the point? And it's just heartbreaking to me. Like, I was at Walmart today, and I was just casually watching everybody because that's what I do. I can't just stare and wait and just be dumb and ridiculous and just like sit there. Can't do it. So I was watching all these cashiers, for example. Well, it wasn't an example, it actually happened. Watching all these cashiers who just looked so fucking miserable. And you know they're only doing that job to try to pay their bills in the system that prides on wealth in the financial sense and not in really any other way. Success. Success and wealth are synonymous. They work together, supposedly. Supposedly. That's what they want you to think. But these people are so miserable. And it really it breaks my heart to see people trying so hard just to try to exist, to try to kind of be sort of socially accepted into the system that we've somehow managed to create, which doesn't make, I don't understand why it even happened. It literally makes no sense to me. The more I have reflected on it and think about it and think of, and like my own personal spiritual experiences and stuff, it's just, it doesn't make any sense. Why does money still exist? It's obsolete. It always was. Like, it helped to sort of create order, to maintain law, to like keep people under control. And it still does that. It still does that easier than anything you'd ever imagine. But we need to break free of this cycle because it's totally just insane. Why do you work so hard just to pay your bills? Like, your soul, your mind is supposed to experience so much more than just paying your bills. What kind of life is that? What's the point of us even existing if that's the only point we have to exist? It doesn't make sense to me. And it wasn't until I got a little bit older that I kind of started to think about these things and experience these things for what they were and how I thought about things. And it's so sad. It's so sad that you've got people on the street begging for your change. I mean, some of them are genuinely lazy and don't want to work, but others are just people who had a hard time, got into a rough spot, and just need some help. And we cannot physically and mentally sustain a society that prides itself so much on financials or finances. You put money in the bank, it's all a number. Like, what the fuck? You could type in, if you're somebody who works at the bank, type in $50,000 to deposit into this account and not have any real proof of it, and it would go into the account and you'd have $50,000 to spend on whatever. That's how fake it is. That's just how fake it is. And so far, in the past few centuries, whatever, it's worked. It's worked like a charm, little resistance, but a lot of resistance at the same time. A lot of people who ultimately end up getting impoverished tend to go towards violence and illegal activities to sustain their families. The real cause of poverty and crime, or the real cause of crime, is poverty. I mean, sure, there's wealthy people who are corrupt as fuck and just, can still get themselves into trouble, but most of it is based on just trying to make a means to an end. It's gotta fucking stop. Because my generation especially, I can't speak much for other generations just because I'm not of that generation, so I have a much different mindset. We've gotta fucking change this bullshit because we can't keep just being debt slaves. What's your student loans look like? I went to a community college for 2 years and owe $15,000. What the fuck? Okay, I'm still working a blue-collar job that doesn't pay me shit. Well, it pays me okay, but not really, if you really think about it. Not for the amount of work I do, it doesn't pay me enough. What's your degree gonna get you? Think about it. Because college is a scam. Your existence and money and everything related to that is a scam. It's it's almost gotten so bad to the point like obviously you're elite, the 1%, whatever, have gotten so obsessed with money and getting people to pay shit that they've even forgotten what it's like to be human, if they're even human. But that's a different topic for another time, and I'm going on 20 minutes now. Um, we need to change it, guys, because we cannot sustain a society the way it is. What happened to bartering? What happened to communes and helping each other out? Our society prides itself on pitting us against each other so that they can take us down a lot easier, or they hope that we can take each other down before they have to. Get real. Do what you want to do. Don't pay your bills, with the exception of maybe some key bills that actually are vital to your existence, like pay like your groceries and your gas if you need it, obviously. But your bills are bullshit. All of it's bullshit. It's not real. It's a scam to keep us controlled, because as soon as people start to think freely, they become a competition. And let's face it, we outnumber those fucking elites by a long shot. And if all of us just stood up and said, fuck you, we are not gonna, like, be part of this society that you've made up, they'd be in real deep shit. Like, we just need to get our power back. And it's simple. Boycott everything. Pay only what's essential to pay. And live happily ever after, because we gotta take those fuckers down. And the reason they've put so many controls and rules and guides on the stuff is because they know they're outnumbered. They know that they're very outnumbered. And if we actually rose up and fought against them, they'd lose in a heartbeat and we would be successful. So, rise up, speak your mind, fuck your bills, and do what you were sent here in this life to do. Enjoy it. Don't be stupid, but enjoy your existence, because even though people say we only have one life, which we have far more than one life, this is one you're going to remember. So, do something about it. Don't let those fuckers keep taking your hard-earned money, your hard-earned hours, making you miserable. Say fuck you, rise up, and we'll win. We just gotta fight for it. So, thanks for watching. Sorry it was so long, but I feel like it was very important what I was talking about. So, stop paying your bills. Do what you love. End of story. Bye.